Mock Draft Monday returns to the Locked On Eagles podcast, episode number 3. My co-host Gino Camilleri and myself, Lou DiBiase, will go through yet another 7-round Philadelphia Eagles mock draft right here on your daily Philadelphia Eagles podcast, Locked On Eagles.
You are Locked On Eagles, your daily Philadelphia Eagles podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
We thank you for making Locked On Eagles your first listen each and every day. This Monday edition of Locked On Eagles is brought to you by Get Upside. Make sure you use the promo code Touchdown when you download the app to get 25 cents per gallon or more cash back on your first tank. I'm Louis DiBiase, back from Mobile, Alabama. The Senior Bowl has concluded alongside my co-host Gino Camilleri. And since it is Monday, it's episode number 3 of Mock Draft Monday. And post-Senior Bowl, Gino, I think there's some new players on our radar, some guys that really helped their stock, some guys that didn't really help it a whole lot. And I'm excited to see what we do with this draft now after that first big, part of the draft evaluation process.
I thought that Daniel Jeremiah did a fantastic job commenting on the game all week long in the practices. And there was a graphic that they put up during the game that said, these all-star games are the first of 3 pillars of this draft season. The next comes the combine, then comes the pro days. This is 1/3 of the evaluation process going into draft season. But the other quarter of that evaluation, that film, is what we have to go back on when we see these guys at these events. What did I miss if I happened to see one of these guys that wasn't on my radar before? Or if one of these guys didn't look as good, okay, maybe I expected what I was going to get out of this guy. So right now, take that information you have. It's new, valid information. You were right there, Lou. You saw these guys right up and close, their body size. You saw how big their frames were. You saw how they were built. And a lot of that comes down to being face-to-face with the scouts down in Mobile. So that's just another part of the process, much like CGS was for me a month ago. It's all part of this game and this big cog in the draft wheel.
Absolutely. Shout out to Jim Nagy, put on an incredible event as always. Was really neat to be down there for the first time. And you can really see the importance of that process, not just for the prospects, but the teams as well, to really get their hands on these prospects. And, you can see all these different agents talking to, team general managers and scouts are down there. It doesn't just really kick off the draft, but the free agency process as well, and trades too. So it was really fascinating to be down there. And I'm really excited to kick off Mock Draft Monday post-Senior Bowl because, even for myself, there were some players that I think others already had, their radar on. But for me, there was a couple players I noticed down there. I'm like, wow. Just the way he's built and the way he's playing in this game. Let me go back to the film. And that's really what a lot of people say is important about the Senior Bowl. It doesn't really, carry what you think about a player, but it can confirm some things or, bring up new questions that make you go back to the film and have them answered. So let's start things off with this 7-round mock draft. And I had the pleasure last time of picking 15th overall. So you will go with 15 and 19. I'll pick number 16 and 51 in the second round here in segment 1. And so it's been an interesting couple of drafts. I think the big theme so far, we've both gone with Devin Lloyd in the first round, linebacker heavy. I think we did an edge rusher both times too. Yeah, we took Trayvon Walker in the first mock draft. We took Jermaine Johnson last week since it was a Senior Bowl only mock. So linebacker, edge, we took Roger McCreary once at cornerback. We took an offensive lineman in Darius Kennard. I think there's been some consistent themes with the Eagles and what they need, Gino, and I'm curious to see what you do with this pick.
I'm going to go with the position and a player that wasn't in the Senior Bowl being number 17 on this list, according to the Draft Network. Ahmad Gardner, the guy on the other side of him, we talked him up, Kobe Bryant, is a player that I really think they might target in day 2 if they don't go there first. But Sauce really is what you want opposite of Darius Slay.
And it sounds like he's picking up some steam ahead of Derek Stingley.
I've heard Stingley might already be at his ceiling. We might have seen the best of Stingley. That's just what I've heard. But with Sauce, this is a guy who fits what Philadelphia wants. And Stingley might be a little smaller than what you would want opposite Slay, because if you look at the corners, and I've said this before, that Jonathan Gannon had in Indy, All those guys are 6 foot, 6'1", have long arms for days, and really are all around the football. Ahmad Gardner is exactly Darius Slay's clone if you're looking at body type and body profile. So why not get a guy that could play press, that could play off, that could do a bunch of everything and shore up that third position that you need? You have the slot, you have first outside cornerback number 1 in Slay. Let's get number 2 and go with Sauce Gardner.
That's a really strong trio, and Sauce, man, the way he can click and close, the explosion, he's got the length too. Yeah,
Tackles
we love
on an
traits
island
on Locked
with
On
ease,
Eagles.
man.
Yeah, and absolutely, that's the thing. I mean, he erased receivers week after week last year. Gino, Derek Stingley went 8th overall here. You can kind of look at the Senior Bowl impact too of the mock drafts already. Malik Willis now at 9 overall to the Denver Broncos. I haven't been seeing those in mock drafts yet, but he clearly was the most talented quarterback down in Mobile. So he's in the top 10. Jermaine Johnson, the edge rusher of Florida State, now going in the top 10. Before that, the consensus was, 15 to 32, and he's right there for the Jets. We go with Ahmad Gardner with the first pick at cornerback. And so now, Gino, again, we talked about quarterback on Wednesday. For me, most likely the only guy I'd be really willing to take in the first round. I like Matt Corral. I like Desmond Ridder at a certain price, but Malik Willis is the player to me that could become the star of this quarterback class. Since he's off the board, I'm focused more again on, building the roster and really focusing more on, the trade route, Jalen Hurts or 2023 for quarterback. And I'm looking at this guy right at the top, and man, would it be hard to pass up on Treylon Burks. I heard I befriended somebody in the USC personnel department at the draft, or I should say at the Senior Bowl, and they were talking up Drake London a lot, which really made me like London. But for the same reasons they were hyping up London, made me like Treylon Burks a whole lot more as well. And, going back and watching some of his film, he's a big body player, right? The guy that we talk about at wide receiver 2 that we want to complement Devontae Smith and Quez Watkins. But he can fly, man, for his size. I saw Arkansas using him in a lot of different ways, with screen passes, run after the catchability. Yeah, he can high point the football and go up and get it like a basketball player. But, he's got some special traits, and I think he would be really intriguing here at number 16.
I don't hate that at all, Lou. I love Treylon Burks. And everybody's saying, like, oh, we can go out into free agency and get this number 2 wide receiver. If you want to get a Mike Williams or an Allen Robinson, you're going to have to pay these guys. These guys are going to demand big-time money. And that second wide receiver position, if you look at the last couple years, Lou, it has exploded in terms of average annual value per year onto those type of deals. So Treylon Burks fits that mold, comes from big-time football playing in the SEC. Turn on his Alabama game alone and tell me you don't want that guy on your football team.
And I think, too, you would have to pay up with a lot of those free agent receivers you talked about. And then the rental, prove-it deals. As somebody, I think it was one of our listeners, I think it was shout out to Lawrence, I think he made the point that it's would they choose Philadelphia? Is that good destination in a prove-it situation with the way they run the football? So I don't know. It might be tough for, I know a lot of people have tagged them with DJ Chark, which would be really interesting. But, some other players that go more on a prove-it deal, I don't know, would they want to come to Philadelphia in that run-heavy offense? So it'd be ideal to bring in a veteran. That's what I would prefer. But if not, you still have to fix this position. And again, with 4 picks in the first 2 rounds, that gives you optionality. And outside of, I've been really going back and forth with who's wide receiver 1 of this class, and we'll keep going with that as we preview the position. Right now, one day it's Garrett Wilson, another day, I think it's Jamison Williams, but lately it's been Treylon Burks for me, man. And I think this would be good value at 16.
And I also look at the type of player that Burks is as opposed to a Jamison Williams or any one of the Ohio State receivers that you want to select. Treylon is all of 6'4". He's going to run a 4.4 flat. He does everything that Devontae Smith really doesn't do as well, maybe as Treylon Burks, go up and high point the football because he's just as big as he is. Devontae does those well, but you want another complement. You have the speed, you have the elusiveness in a guy like Quez Watkins. Go out there and get another big-bodied guy like that, or you use one of those picks to trade for a wide receiver of that body profile.
Yeah. I agree. All right, Gino, you're up on the clock here at pick 19. We've gone with a little different here. We haven't done this yet where we went corner and wide receiver. Ahmad Gardner and Treylon Burks is a lot of talent, though, with those first 2 picks. Where's your head at now here with this 19th overall selection?
I do see Devin Lloyd on the board, but I kind of want to change it up, get our listeners some new names here. Going to the edge class, Lou, if you want to just bring that up, a lot of those guys were selected early on. So you see at the top right now, Cameron Thomas, Logan Hall. I thought Anagbari had a great week down in Mobile for South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
But the big name on the board, and a guy who didn't go to the Senior Bowl because he's an underclassman, George Karloftis. The Philadelphia Eagles might fall into a top 2 edge rusher in this class. From people that I've heard, some people like him better than Aiden Hutchinson, which is crazy. They think he has a little bit more upside. But Karloftis, Lou, you look at the type of player that he is, what is the first word that comes to your mind when you look at George Karloftis?
I don't know, man. I mean, motor sometimes is
motor. That's what it is. And he's a guy,
which scares me, but I think he's got, physical abilities and upside that, like the Chase Winovich is who represented motor for us on the podcast. I think he's got a lot more upside than that.
I think he's a more complete player that you would want to take right now, other than like a trait guy who Cam Thomas and Logan Hall, those guys with the length. You could wait till, I would say, day 2 or early day 3 to hit on those guys that you saw down in Mobile, Alabama. I mean, there's tons of them. A D'Angelo Malone, for example, if you want a speed rusher. But Karloftis would fill that Brandon Graham role, be that guy that's opposite of a speed to power rusher in Josh Sweat, a guy that is good against the run, can get in on your chest and just absolutely dominate you. He is one of those guys that holds up so well at that position that I really look at a guy like Milton Williams, who when he does play at the edge, what do they like him to do? Karloftis can do a lot of that interior and exterior stuff that you and I fell in love with in Charles Omenihu a couple years ago.
He was the first guy that I thought of when you said that. Yep.
But George Karloftis is truly a guy that he's from Greece. He's a guy that football, I mean, coming from Greece, it's not your first sport. Comes over here, dominates, still has a little bit of a ceiling that he can reach. Count me in for Karloftis as your 3rd pick of the first round. I'm there all day.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's good value here. And it's interesting. I feel like, everybody you talk to, it feels like they have a different favorite with this edge class, right? And I think that just shows the depth of it, though. And a lot of the players you mentioned, too, in Mobile, there's a lot of potential, too. If you want to double dip, you got the more complete player with Karloftis here. If you want to go for more of a speed upside guy, day 2, day 3, there are a lot of names, and a lot of them we were watching this past week. So I really like what we did with those first 3 picks. It's definitely different. Ahmad Gardner, Treylon Burks, and George Karloftis. That's, I think pretty good value with those first 3 selections. We've got the second round coming up next right here on Locked On Eagles. We have a lot of picks to get to still, as Mock Draft Monday is, a lot more active, I would say, in 2022 than recent years.
Absolutely so. And it's sweet when you could get a guy like Sauce Gardner, who only allows 13 yards per game last season, folks. That's pretty sweet. But you know what is just as sweet as that, Lou? Built Bars, baby. You knew I was coming with those. And this time of year, a lot of people have given up on their New Year's resolution. The gym starts to empty out. But let me tell you what, I've actually been keeping to it, eating healthy, just did some yoga before this show, sitting here in this chair all day, shoulders get a little hunched over. No, hit some yoga, had a Built Bar, got fueled up for this show. They have their Puffs flavors. I know we've mentioned a few times. These things, for somebody that likes sweet stuff, I know Lou does in his sour beers, these are marshmallow treats that taste like unbelievable, I would say, multiple different flavors, like chocolate
Give me
cheesecake.
Lucky Charm vibes sometimes.
Lucky Charm. Yeah, I think that's a good, I was going to say almost a Peep vibe, but way better than Peep. Trust me, I know a lot of people don't like Peeps. These things blow them out of the water. Or you could just stick to their regular flavors that they have. I mean, mint brownie is always one of mine. Coconut, I'm in the coconut flavors now. Their coconut brownie one that they had, I hope they bring that back. And not only are they good, they're delicious, nutritious, and they're healthy. 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 grams of net carbs, and also almost 20 grams of protein per bar. Use the promo code LOCKED15 today at built.com to get 15% off your order on Built Bar. And you could get a mix and match box. You could stick with your original flavors that you like, or get one of their limited edition flavors using that promo code LOCKED15 at built.com.
All right, Eagles fans, welcome back into Mock Draft Monday right here on the Locked On Eagles podcast. Thank you so much for making Locked On Eagles your first listen each and every day. I'm Louis DiBiase. He's Gino Camilleri. And we completed the first round with some different players. And I think it was a really talented haul. We got with those first 3 picks. Ahmad Gardner, the corner of Cincinnati at pick 15. At pick 16, Treylon Burks, the first receiver in mock draft Monday in the first round from Arkansas. And then George Karloftis, the edge from Purdue, falling to 19. I don't think many people expect that. Good value, though, and with how many different favorites there are in this edge class, certainly realistic. So Gino took Gardner and Karloftis. I went with Treylon Burks. I have the opportunity here to make this 51st overall selection. So they took care of cornerback here long-term. You've got now your trio of receivers with Smith, Burks, and Watkins. Karloftis opposite Josh Sweat. A really good haul so far. I'm thinking now, Gino, linebacker. You could double dip with edge. We did that in the first mock draft Monday. Safety, definitely for sure. There are some interesting players on the board. You could really do anything here. I wouldn't be surprised if they went quarterback, if a Desmond Ridder was available, or Carson Strong if his medicals check out. But there's a player here that I was really impressed with down in Mobile at a position the Eagles could need. And I feel like the value at this position makes more sense at 51 than in the first round at safety. And man, it was hard not to notice Jalen Petrie from Baylor. And, the JT Woods as well. I forget, I'm not sure if I'm messing up his first name, but Woods, the other Baylor safety, had a really nice interception in the game. Baylor's got some good players in this draft, but Petrie, I think, is the best one at safety. And Gino, he was playing in the box. He looked explosive, moving sideline to sideline. There were times where he was covering running backs one-on-one. I was really impressed by Petrie, and I think, he's the 54th overall prospect here. At 51, it would make a lot of sense. I'm not sure the safety free agent class is really nice, but, McLeod's a free agent. Anthony Harris. Can you rely on Marcus Epps for a bigger role? Kevon Wallace can't stay healthy. They're going to need multiple players at this position.
Lou, you don't have to pull my leg to draft the safety.
And you'd finally get your boy, or at least someone at the position in the first 2 rounds, which would be the first time since we've been doing Locked On Eagles.
And a player that would really fit the mold of what Jonathan Gannon wants. A lot of what they're doing was what I talked about in the offseason, moving to this quarter style of coverage where you're having a lot of nickel players. You can run a big dime where you bring in an additional safety. And a lot of where I learned that was from the Art of X books, which Cody Alexander is the author of, who used to work at Baylor. And that defense that they run, those safeties are asked to do a lot. And these books go into the details of what they're asked to do. And Petrie, if you turn on his tape, you see how much just the install alone of a quarter's defense has on a safety and how much they have to do. Petrie does everything.
Yeah.
Where's all the hats? Yeah. I mean, these guys are going to be down at the line of scrimmage playing press. They're going to be back playing a deep cover. They're going to take away the back part of the third of the field. They're going to be in the middle taking away those crossers. Petrie is a guy that would come in my opinion, Lou, play right away. I think instantly. He can come in and regardless if it's just in sub packages where he's getting 2 out of the 3 snaps per rep, or he's a full-time safety, I think he could come in immediately and impact that defense.
Number 83 here for the Eagles in the 3rd round. We've got a corner, receiver, edge, and safety now. Gino, where's your head at with this pick?
I'm looking linebacker. I think a lot of those linebackers that you saw down in Mobile, Alabama would fall into this area. My guy, I'm sticking with him, is number 86, Chad Muma. But we're not picking him, Lou. Don't pick it.
Okay.
I would pick him if we were here. I want to change it up. Leo Chanal wasn't down at the Senior Bowl, but he's from Wisconsin. Is really that Sam Backer role that they want, a guy that can drop into coverage, a guy that can come off the edge. If you look at guys coming out of Wisconsin over the years, this is the role the Eagles need that they wanted Jannard Avery to be. But Jannard Avery's 5'8". They need a guy who's all of 6'2", all of 240 pounds. Leo Chanal, if you haven't seen his Wisconsin tape, asked to do a lot of things at the linebacker position. And that's one of the things we keep doing here on this mock draft is versatility, versatility, versatility. Leo Chanal, I think he's going to fall into one of the top 5 linebackers in this class when it's all said and done in terms of selection. But he's going to be right there in day 2, ready for you to pick in that group of Muma and Damone Clark and all of those guys I feel could be there. And you could pick the best of the bunch and get Leo Chanal.
Yeah, I think this is the most, we've had linebacker go in the first round, the first 2 mock draft Mondays we've had. But again, the Eagles have done that once ever. And with the progress that, I would do it, especially with the picks they have and the players up top that I really like and the way Jonathan Gannon demands a lot out of these linebackers. There's a lot of space to cover. At the same time, TJ Edwards had a good 2021. So did Davian Taylor before his injury. So are they going to be comfortable already when philosophically, even, when they've desperately needed linebacker in years past where they didn't have two young players with upside, they still didn't really do it. They tried to patchwork it with Jatavis Brown and Corey Nelson and LJ Fort. Even though he was good, they cut him. So, this is a situation where they already have some young pieces, and this is probably the more realistic route. It's not like they're just ignoring the spot, but another third round pick might make more sense.
I think so, and I think they would double up too. I think the route they took with Davian Taylor and Sean Bradley is another one that they might look to reiterate and go back on that style, like a day two type guy, and then let's hit it with a guy who's athletic and has some special teams aspects in the back part of that draft.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're up here again with the 4th round pick, 122 overall. Gino, my head's kind of at now. I'm starting to look for those upside edge rushers to, double dip here with George Karloftis. You've got him and Josh Sweat now in house, Brandon Graham coming back, but they like to be 4 deep, and Brandon Graham, not sure how much longer he has. So you're going to want to double dip at some point. I like Isaiah Thomas. I like D'Angelo Malone. Let's take a look here though on the defensive tackle spots too. I thought Haskell Garrett had a really strong week at the Senior Bowl. And I know he's 171, but I feel like this range would make some sense. Let me take a look just real quick at what tight ends are available too. I'm not really loving that. So, Gino,
what about interior offensive line?
Yeah,
just
let's
check
take a
it out.
look. Yeah, good point. Ed Ingram.
Ooh,
Alec Lindstrom, I really like with this pick, actually.
Yeah, he's
and there's
just like
no
his brother.
way if he's on the board, there's no way they pass up on that.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, because I saw him there and I saw the other positions.
Value.
I'm like, value, versatility. Lindstrom hits them all, plays center, plays guard, is a smart guy. Boston College just continues to turn out very smart football players in the middle of the offensive line. If you look back in the history, his brother is one of them. And his brother was a guy that we mocked to the Eagles a couple times back a few years ago. And we look at the future of Jason Kelsey. I don't think the Linderbaum route is the safest way to go, just in case Kelsey decides to play 3 more years. You never know.
I mean, the way he talked this year, it didn't sound like, compared to recent years, that he's hanging it up soon.
Absolutely. So you want versatility in those guys that could play guard, could play center if needed. Lindstrom, if that's the first pick on day 3, Lou, I think you're going to make a lot of Eagles.
And while Kelsey plays, you have a ton of guard depth. You have a lot of options to figure out long-term which one of these guys we want to be the safety. Is Landon Dickerson eventually going to make the move, or is he just too damn good to be at left guard? And do we want to move Sam Alu, or is it going to be Nate Herbig, or could it be Alec Lindstrom? I think when you have like 3 or 4 young players and you have time with Kelsey coming back, that allows you to be patient and kind of, weigh your options and scenarios. So it'll be really interesting, this scenario, to have Lindstrom in-house up front.
I totally agree. I think you can kind of make that type of move when you have so many picks on day 3 where they look for those traits guys on defense, and that's where you're going to find them. Is like the 5th and 6th round. You don't get good offensive linemen at pick 122 very often.
Absolutely. We will go through rounds 5 through 7 coming up next right here on Mock Draft Monday on Locked on Eagles. Guys, today's podcast is sponsored by Get Upside. It's an incredible app that everybody who buys gas, and that's pretty much everybody, they need to know about it. Get Upside. Our listeners are earning cash back for every gallon of gas every time they fill up. Just download the free Get Upside app in the App Store or Google Play right now and use the promo code TOUCHDOWN for 25 cents per gallon or more on your first fill up. Cash back. Don't pay full price at the pump anymore. Get cash back using Get Upside. Just download the app for free and use the promo code TOUCHDOWN for 25 cents per gallon or more on your first tank. Some people who drive a lot are making as much as $200 to $300 a year in cash back, and there's no catch. The money gets added right to your account. You can cash out anytime to your bank account, PayPal, or an e-gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Get Upside app and use the promo code TOUCHDOWN to get 25 cents per gallon or more cash back on your first tank. Again, that's promo code TOUCHDOWN at Get Upside. All right, Eagles fans, it is segment 3 of Mock Draft Monday 2022, episode number 3. I'm Louis DiBiase. He's Gino Camilleri. Thank you so much for making Locked On Eagles your first listen each and every day. Guys, make sure too you're checking out just the entire Locked On podcast network, all the NFL shows right now. We've had some awesome coverage at the Senior Bowl. We have a bunch of bodies down at the Super Bowl for Radio Row. Locked On Bengals. We've got Locked On Rams. Ross Jackson of Locked On Saints is down there. the Peacock and Williamson show. So it's really cool, Gino, to see the fact that Locked On has a podium down in Radio Row with the banner in the background and so many NFL legends talking to the network, and just like being able to witness in Mobile the progress this network has made together. And it's all because of our listeners was pretty surreal.
It's unbelievable. I never thought that I would look down Radio Row and see a picture of Locked On there. I remember listening to the guys on Sirius XM on the NFL Network and stuff like that. You're like, oh, now we're part of a network that is sitting right next to those guys. Yeah. And you're right. It's all the listeners, man. I mean, we're just two crazy guys talking into a microphone if nobody's listened to it. So the heads off to everybody. And I completely agree with what Lou said. You're not going to get as much coverage at the Super Bowl every single day as the Locked On podcast.
Yeah, 100%. Again, because it's daily. So that's why definitely have the advantage there. Make sure you subscribe to all the podcasts on all platforms. For today, me and Gino, we've moved on to the off season. We are headed to our, draft coverage and free agency coming up soon. Trade talk, it's coming. Today is Monday, so it's Mock Draft Monday, episode number 3. And Gino, so far we've gotten through the first 4 rounds and taking a look at what we've done. Would you agree this might be, at least talent-wise, the strongest draft we've done?
Without a doubt so far. I know we were kind of handcuffed a little with the Senior Bowl one, but through 4 rounds, I think this is a home run. I think this is an A+. If we walked away with this class so far, I'm grading an A easily.
Pick 153 in round 5. Gino, this is your move, and we're on the clock at 161 as well. There's a lot of picks in day 3 for the Eagles, but that's a good thing because they do so well. This is where they find their core, which is not normally sustainable, but somehow the Eagles have made it sustainable.
And pick 153 is very close to where they selected Kenneth Gainwell last year, and I'm going to stick with that position, Lou. I think Rachaad White out of Arizona State.
He looked really good on Saturday.
You talk about a guy who is all of 6'1" and all of 210 pounds, runs the rock right north and south, exactly how you want him, exactly like a guy like Jordan Howard, who you are losing. And did I mention that his junior year of college, he averaged 10 yards per rush? 10 foot. He averaged a first down every time he touched the football. That's a perfect compliment to Miles Sanders, perfect compliment to Boston Scott and Kenny Gainwell, in my opinion, which I know they're big in their heart and they're very lion-hearted individuals, but when you got to go up the middle and get 1 or 2 yards or 5 or 6 or 10, Rachaad White would be a great compliment to give 6 to 8 carries to his rookie year right off the bat.
Yeah, he ran really hard in the game on Saturday, which was dictated by the defensive lines, but White, yards after contact, it was him and Abram Smith, the running back from Baylor. There's some good running backs in day 3, but that's just the NFL now, kind of, Gino, in the draft. You can find a lot of production later on at running back. It's why there's so many teams that really don't invest premier assets in the position, because you can get a guy like Rachaad White or Kenny Gainwell last year who gets you almost 600 yards from scrimmage and 7 touchdowns total, including the playoffs. And he didn't even really play all that much, considering there were many games where he was in the doghouse. So Rachaad White, I think, would be a really good value pick here. Speaking of value, I think right now you start to look at some other positions to add depth. I think tight end 2 is a spot. I really want to come away with a tight end in this class. It is really deep. I liked a lot of the players at the Senior Bowl. I like Jelani Woods here. Gino, I like Cole Turner from Nevada too, and I think you mentioned it a lot because you were a big fan of Carson Wentz throughout the season. Carson Strong. Excuse me. You watched a lot of Carson Strong, and I think you mentioned it too during the season. Like, you really notice Cole Turner a lot when you're watching Strong.
Either him or Romeo Doubs. Either one of them were getting all of the targets, and I thought Cole Turner really showed off what he does at tight end down in Mobile. Moves very well, can show that he can extend, move his body, adjust to the football. He had one clip where he ran right up the seam in 7-on-7s, makes a full extension layout, and in a game he's going to get cracked, but he has the will and the heart to go over the middle. And you need a tight end in this class, Lou, simply because there's too much talent not to walk away with one of them. Right. I think it would be a disservice to where if you're contemplating, okay, are we going to double up at edge here? Are we going to go another linebacker, safety, or corner? Well, maybe we should take our first tight end of the draft and get one of the better guys in Cole Turner.
Yeah, and I think I like Jack Stahl. I thought he was a really good run blocker last year, and I thought he played his role well when Zach Ertz got traded away. Tyree Jackson has upside, but those multiple injuries are concerning, and I would just prefer a more polished pass-catching tight end. And again, this is a good class, and I want one of these players. Gino, we're on the clock again here at 165 in round 5, and this pick is yours.
Let's go to all.
Get out
I
of
want to
tight end
see
here.
what the value is here. What's going on? You got Sincere McCormick.
Tends to be running back this late when it comes to value.
I know. That's where a lot of the value is because you see how they all fall. I mean, you're getting into the territory where now you could take a guy like Haskell Garrett, Lou.
I think it'd be a great pick here. Yeah.
I think Haskell Garrett would be a pick that they look at if you don't make that Milton Williams selection last year. I think they do a lot of that 3 technique type of stuff, very similar, but the interior is always somewhere they might look, but also they need guys in the secondary still. Luke, go to safety right now because I think this is prime territory where you're going to be able to get some of these guys that slip down a little bit. JT Woods, the other Baylor safety. I mean, why not just take them both, Lou? Why not take the 2 guys that complement each other very well, have very good football IQ on the back end? And if you saw them in the Senior Bowl, they were making plays together in that All-Star game. Roll with JT Woods, man, because you're going to either hit on one out of the 2, in my opinion, and stick with the same program. Baylor creates top talent at that safety position. I know the Eagles wanted to get something out of Graylin Arnold for a while. I think you finally hit on that Graylin Arnold role, safety, cornerback, nickel in one of those 2 guys. I'm there getting 2 safeties, Lou. Woo! Both out of Baylor.
Gino Camilleri draft if that happens.
And the thing is, and I'm not just saying Baylor to say that, Big 12, you cover a lot of ground against a lot of elite athletic players on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah.
You have to cover space, and you have to do it against all different type of players. Tight ends can move. Running backs can move down there. And these guys, Woods and Petrie, I mean, they can do it. I really think that you're going to hit on one of the 2. You could compliment Kevon Walls, compliment Marcus Epps, compliment either Anthony Harris or Rodney McLeod, and you're going to fill in the blanks with at least one of the 2 like we did 2 years ago with the wide receiver class where you at least hit on one of those 3.
Yeah, I agree. Pick 192 here, Gino, in the 6th round. It's kind of interesting now. I mean, I think they could use defensive tackle depth. You took a linebacker in round 3. You could try to add more depth there. You already took a running back, maybe another wide receiver. We took Treylon Burks in the 1st round. I saw an interesting article from Ed Kratz of Sports Illustrated, and it said that the Eagles have taken a quarterback every 2 years. I think it was for like the past 15 years or something like that. And of course, it varies when they take one. Carson Wentz 2nd overall, Clayton Thorson in the 5th round, Jalen Hurts in the 2nd. But Gino, I feel like too with the, unsureness, I should say, just the question marks when it comes to Gardner Minshew, because who knows, you might be able to use him as part of a trade this year and get an asset. They might look back into quarterback. Is there anybody, I want to bring you in on this pick, is there anyone here that you would consider, or is it just not a good class, not worth a pick here?
I mean,
probably not. Brock Purdy's
the only one, but at this point, it's like, do you want to take Brock Purdy or do you just want to wait until the undrafted free agency territory? The other edge of that coin, Lou, is that they already spent a pick on a quarterback in this territory using that 6th for Gardner, and he's still under a rookie contract. They are in no rush to get out from Gardner, in my opinion. I think they would look at bodies on the defense, Lou. I think that's continually where they're going to invest in, whether it's corner, whether it's defensive line, or you might take one of an offensive tackle that has a lot of upside too. But I think it'll be trench play, and I think it'll be secondary that they look at.
I think they're going to – I want to take an edge here. I want to come away with another player at this position and double down. Between these 3, Gino, I would prefer Jeremiah Moon. Where's your head at with those 3?
I think Jeremiah Moon is
from
solid
Texas A&M,
too.
and you got Christopher Allen from Alabama.
Yeah, I think either 3 of them are good. All are going to be right there at the end that you're going to put them on the practice squad more likely than not. And at this part of the draft, Lou, you're looking at guys where is their upside? How much am I going to get out of them going forward? Not in 2022, maybe not even in 2023, but maybe 2024. And can I get some special teams play out of these guys as well? Which makes me say, okay, can we hit on another linebacker here? Because they're going to need special teams improvement off of a special teams unit that really wasn't that great. And this is the overall list here. Am I correct here, Lou?
Yes.
You got Chase Lucas out of Arizona State. You have a guy like David Anini out of Houston. Scroll down a little bit here as well. Ooh, Isaac Taylor Stewart. I say we go with Isaac Taylor Stewart. He is a guy coming out of USC. You talk about going into practice each day, going up against a guy like Drake at wide receiver. You know my rule. I'm only going to say their first name and their position. This is a player. You could bring him in, be your 6th or 7th guy, be a practice squad body, potentially be one of those special teams places on the kickoff or as a gunner. And right now I'm talking a lot about a guy who could be your 11th pick in this draft. And frankly, I don't think they make 11 picks, but they're going to come away with at least 8 to 9 guys. They'll probably trade for maybe a pick next year and maybe even a player or two off of somebody's roster with one of these picks. So look into this territory as well. Maybe you know a team did a little work on them and they might be interested in giving up an asset that you're interested in. And you got to play that game here in the NFL draft. But I think we did another great mock draft Monday.
I think so too, Gino. I think this is the most talented class that we've done.
Talent all over the board.
Yeah. Let's recap what we did before we end the show. At pick 15 overall, Ahmad Gardner, the corner of Cincinnati. Then Treylon Burks at 16, the wide receiver of Arkansas. George Karloftis, the edge of Purdue, at pick 19. And let's get back here to our draft picks. Also, we have Jalen Petrie, the safety of Baylor, pick 51. Leo Chanal, the linebacker of Wisconsin, in the 3rd round at 83. And then on day 3, a good value pick here, Alec Lindstrom, the interior offensive lineman of Boston College. Rashad White, the running back of Arizona State. We got a nice tight end too, I think, in Cole Turner, good value at 161. We got both safeties from Baylor, JT Woods at 165, an edge rusher to double down with Karloftis, Jeremiah Moon from Florida, and then our final pick, Isaac Taylor Stewart, the corner of USC. That is going to do it for Mock Draft Monday episode. Mock Draft Monday. I don't know why I'm forgetting the names, episode number 3. What we're gonna do is post all these mock drafts after the episodes. And so at the end, when it comes closer to draft time, we will have everybody put it to a vote and see which draft they would prefer. But overall, 3 very unique and I would say different strategies we've taken so far. And I'm excited next week to do it again and see what we can do again and get a little more creative.
Howie Roseman said it best last offseason. He's setting up this team to have optionality. And I think that's what all 3 of these drafts have shown. The Eagles, they're not going to be in this mindset where, hey, they take the best player available because they need it. They're going to take the best player available because they're the best player available because they have so many holes that they need to fill. And this offseason, it's all about getting better for 2022 and beyond.
That's going to do it for Mock Draft Monday right here on the Locked On Eagles podcast. Guys, thank you so much for making Locked On Eagles your first listen each and every day. You can find the show on all podcast platforms that you listen to your podcasts. We're available in video form as well. Follow along with our mock draft process on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and follow us on Twitter at Locked On Birds, at GC24_football, and at DiBiase LOE. We'll see you tomorrow for another edition of LOE. As always, for Gino Camilleri, I'm Lou DiBiase signing off. Thank you for downloading. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And let's go Birds.
Fly, Eagles, fly.